that's what you want. Because the Bible is clear about what following Jesus is going to look like. It's no picnic at the park. A lot of people in this world think that Christianity is for a bunch of sissies and women. You know why they think that? Many times that's what it's looked like. Bunch of weak people, bunch of weak-minded people, doing their little thing, getting in their little buildings every Sunday, where they're safe and protected from the world, and not making any difference in the world. And there are a lot of people around this world that are waking up and seeing the need to do something about that. He goes on to say in the next quote, maybe this is why we sit back and settle for a casual relationship with Christ and routine religion in the church. It is safe there. And the world likes us there. The world likes us when we are pursuing everything they are pursuing, even if we do put a Christian label on it. As long as Christianity looks like the American dream, we will have few problems in this world. Those are powerful statements, folks. And those are soul-searching statements that he made. I want to share with you again. I'm doing more reading from the book than I normally do. But he just says it so well that I can't say it any better trying to preach it. He had a section in there, it's titled, Troop Carrier or Luxury Liner. Think with me for a moment. The language of Matthew 10, which I read in the beginning, envisions Jesus as a military commander sending soldiers out on a mission. He summoned his disciples and then he sent them out. In light of the needs before them and the danger around them, the disciples knew they were entering in battle. After Jesus got done with them, there was no doubt about it. In the late 1940s, the U.S. government commissioned William Francis Gibbs to work with United States Lines to construct an $80 million troop carrier for the Navy. The purpose was to design a ship that could speedily carry 15,000 troops during times of war. By 1952, construction on the USS United States was complete. The ship could travel at 44 knots, about 51 miles per hour, and she could steam 10,000 miles without stopping for fuel or supplies. She could outrun any other ship and travel nonstop anywhere in the world in less than 10 days. The SS United States was the fastest and most reliable troop carrier in the world. The only catch is she never carried troops. At least not in any official capacity. The ship was put on standby once during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, but otherwise she was never used in all her capacity by the U.S. Navy. Instead, the SS United States became a luxury liner for presidents, heads of state, and a variety of other celebrities who traveled on her during her 17 years of service. As a luxury liner, she couldn't carry 15,000 people. Instead, she could house just under 2,000 passengers. Those passengers could enjoy the luxuries of 695 staterooms, 4 dining salons, 3 bars, 2 theaters, 5 acres of open deck with a heated pool, 19 elevators, and the comfort of the world's first fully air-conditioned passenger ship. Instead of a vessel used for battle during wartime, the SS United States became a means of indulgence for wealthy patrons who desired to coast peacefully across the Atlantic. What a difference. Things look radically different on a luxury liner than they do on a troop carrier. The faces of soldiers preparing for battle and those of patrons enjoying their bonbons are radically different. The conversation of resources on a troop carrier contrasts sharply with the opulence that characterizes the luxury liner. And the pace at which the troop carrier moves is by necessity much faster than that of the luxury liner. After all, the troop carrier had an urgent task to accomplish. The luxury liner, on the other hand, is free to casually enjoy the trip. Are you getting the message? This is the way he wraps it up. When I think about the history of the SS United States, I wonder if she has something to teach us about the history of the church. The church, like the SS United States, has been designed for battle. The purpose of the church is to mobilize the people to accomplish a mission. Yet we seem to have turned the church as truth carrier into the church as luxury liner. We seem to have organized ourselves not to engage in battle for the souls of people around the world, but to indulge ourselves in the peaceful comforts of the world. This makes me wonder what would happen if we looked squarely in the face of a world with 4.5 billion people going to hell and 26,000 children dying every day of starvation and preventable diseases, and we decided it was time to move this ship into battle instead of sitting back on the pool deck while we wait for the staff to serve us more hors d'oeuvres. Those are powerful statements, aren't they? That's soul-searching. Well, enough about the risk of following Jesus. I think we've made our point. Let's look now at the rewards in following Jesus. The reward of the American dream is safety, security, and success, found in more comfort, better stuff, and greater prosperity. That's what the world encourages us to go for today. Everywhere around us, on the television commercials and the newspapers, everywhere that we go, it encourages us to have this more comfort, this better stuff, and greater prosperity. Have it better than someone else did. Have it better than your folks did when you were growing up. Your parents even want you to have it much better than they did when they were growing up, don't they? Every parent that is in here today has tried for you to have a better life than what they had when they were growing up. I can almost guarantee you that, unless you happen to have had wealthy parents. The reward of Christ trumps all these things and beckons us to live for an eternal security, or safety, security, and satisfaction that far outweigh everything this world has to offer us. This is where we have missed the mark. For we have not focused enough on what the Lord has for us eternally. I want you to understand today what the word eternal means. Eternal means that it goes on and on and on and on, and it never ends. Whatever you gain in this life, whatever you gain, and it might be wonderful things, and there's nothing to be said against the fact that you may have some nicer things in your life necessarily. But all those things that you have will only be with you for, let's say you start working for them when you're 20 years old. You may start younger than that, 20 years old, and you work for them until you're 65 or whatever. 45 years that you've worked for those things and you've amassed them, and you might be able to enjoy them for another 20 years or so after all of that's over, and then it's all gone. And then whatever you worked for during that time, it's passed on to somebody else. You may pass it on to your children who are worthless, won't work a day in their life, and just fritter it away. You may. You have no guarantee that what you have worked so hard for in all your life is going to even be worth anything very far down the road. Temporary. What we're talking about is eternal. Our safety is in God's sovereignty. Nothing happens to us in this world apart from God's sovereign will. Everything that happens to you is designed by God. It's part of His will. He has allowed it to happen. When Satan attacked Job, he had to go to God and ask for permission to do what he did to Job because God is in control of it. He is the sovereign God. In fact, God will even use Satan's strategies to accomplish His will. Think with me about a couple of examples from the Bible that go along with that. God using Satan's strategies to accomplish His will. First of all, Stephen. Stephen, Acts chapter 7. Stephen, wonderful man of God. Loved God with all his heart. And the people decided they wanted to stone him. And they were stoning him, and they stoned him to death. And he looked up and he saw the face of Christ, and he saw the angels in heaven. And he committed his spirit to the hands of God. And he suffered through that stoning and he gave up his life. But as a result of what happened there, the persecution of the church began. And because the persecution of the church happened, the gospel was spread all around the world. And what Satan had intended to be something that would destroy the church, would intimidate the church. I mean, when other believers would see that Stephen got stoned to death, surely they would want to follow this way too. And what Satan intended to be something that would destroy the church and Christ's work actually served to spread the gospel all around the world.